go.
Okay, so it's a few products from honeybees. They are super effective on pathogens and also on autoimmune diseases. Let me give you the name of those products. For example, propolis. Propolis has an antimicrobial property, but most of the claim about the propolis is about the anti-cancer, anti-tumor, anti-inflammations. So far, over 300 ingredients or components been claimed through, I wouldn't say 100% scientific organization, some double-blind study, some clinical trial, some case study on propolis. But generally speaking, when we have a PCR or antibiogram test on resistant bacteria to antibiotics, such as Acantobacteria, E. coli, Pseudomonas, Bacillus alvi, Bacillus ceres, or mostly human pathogen, I should say, Streptococcus pyogenes, Streptococcus aureus. Lots of these bacteria are resistant from those basically 37, 38 antibiotic bacteria. Right. The propolis is effective not only in contact on antibiogram test in a lab or PCR test, also on oral consumption or topical use is improving how that works. In nature, for example, mouse dealing with lots of dirty places, but because mouse naturally knows the propolis, it can help them. They have a little bit of propolis in their stomach. So when they grow the mouse in a lab, so they get lots of problem with the pathogen, with diseases, especially when they get stressed, they itching themselves. Is interesting. Animal departments, the cream they use is a propolis cream. So that's a different subject to talk about it. But when we're talking about the royal jelly, 99.99%, almost 100% of the royal jelly distributed to the market comes from China, and it's mostly manufactured. It's not a real royal jelly. Other ways, royal jelly has a strong supplementary properties. I'll give you a very simple example of effect of royal jelly. So when queen lays eggs, 32 chromosome eggs either become a worker bees or queen bees. If the only difference between being queen bees or a worker bees is an environmental factor, is a nutrition. Basically, genetically exactly the same, both of them 32 chromosome, you can pick randomly any eggs or early stage larvae lasting 72 hours. First 3 days are eggs, and then 72 hours of the stage of the larva. You can graft them instead of 5mm cells to the 10mm cells, and then give them to queenless or queen right hives based on methodology of productions. They can give royal jelly to the cells. So when they feed royal jelly, the 54 phenotype change happens. For example, size become doubles, weight become doubles. Instead of hatching in 21 days, hatching 12 to 13 days. And then she's surviving 6 years instead of 2 months, like a 60 times more. And she can produce eggs 3 times of her weight per day. Also, she's resistant to the larva during larva stage, pupa stage. When she hatch, she's resistant to the bacteria and amoeba porosa problem, which is an virus and a fungus, which is none of them common with humans pathogens. So because of this environmental factor, royal jelly, and also drones or male bees, sperms can survive 28 days in room temperature, not in a freezer or heat. So, and then when queen she get mated, she keeping the sperm and her spermatica for 6 years, and she survived because of the royal jelly consumptions. Nurse bees giving to the queen bees, basically hypopharyngeal gland and the bee's head and the mandibulars. So they're producing this jelly by consuming pollen and honey. All this phenomenal effect happens. So the pure royal jelly has a super effect. This is what I said. It's just really a small information how different can make royal jelly. So only time the sperm cannot fertilize the eggs when queen get in deficiency of receiving royal jelly because of the nature get poor or bees get sick, cannot consume pollen. By any chance, bees does not feed the royal jelly to the queens, so because of the nutrient deficiency, again environmental factors, makes all those difference. So that's about the royal jelly, and I'm the only producer of royal jelly in North America. All the royal jelly in the market it comes from China. So that's the other topic to discuss about it. They told you local royal jelly. It looks like somebody told you they have a caviar $10 per kilograms. Right away, you know that doesn't make sense. But then you told them, hey, you know what? Don't give me $10. I pay you $200 or $500. Give me one sturgeon, and they don't have a one sturgeon fish to show you. So royal jelly, same thing. If they sell you royal jelly in a market $300 per kilograms or $200 or something like that, or you go in Alibaba, you can buy $25, $30 per kilograms. Just the labor cost for that is over $200-300 in China to produce it, or around that. I went to China. That's a different story to talk about it, how they produce it over there, and beekeeper producing real one, manufacturer, they're adding so many things on it. So method of application is another thing. So it's a lot to talk about the royal jelly, but at this stage I have a royal jelly processed, non-processed, to explain, and it's a good supplementary about it. Lots of claim when you about the quality of the royal jelly on increasing libido, autoimmune diseases, and many other properties. So another product is I'm the only producer internationally, and for the first time I report that on 2011 International Conference Epimondia in Buenos Aires. It's been presented in US, Germany, all over China, many countries, called N chromosome royal jelly. So N chromosome royal jelly, that's the name I came with. And to start with, I had a case study of over 811 patients. They were suffering for H. pylori, Helicobacter pylori, which is average 70% of worldwide population suffering on it, and Middle Eastern Asians over 95-98%. And as we know, over 10% of those people, they may end up with a cancer, stomach cancer. Also antibiotics is not effective on it, maybe temporarily, and also anti-acid reflux components also is not effective at all. And it's a lot of things to talk about this too, but to make it short presentations about H. pylori, I have over 1,360-1,770 patients. They've been using these products between 2-3 days to maximum was 28 days, average 7 to 12 days, something like that. They have no symptoms of the stomach pain or acid reflux. Endoscopy test before and after confirming the result of being effective or not through consuming the N chromosome royal jelly. So N chromosome royal jelly also I've been using for cancer patient in hospital, was a clinical trial. So increasing the white blood cells, red blood cells, and platelet. As we know, after chemotherapy, when it comes below 2,000, around 2,000 or less, some of the patients, they have to take them to ESO conditions or isolate conditions. They be susceptible to so many pathogens. So all the results have been released to hospital, and also it was a cancer patient, 95, I think 93, 68, and 32. So whatever, I think it's 95. So over 87 claim cure through hospital. This is not me. Hospital claiming the cure. And then 1 or 2 passed away, and there are a few handful of people that are recovering. So it's going to be more study about that. And also I've been using these products to prevent amputation and diabetes. In past I've been using the maggot larva, which is Ronald Sherman, Dr. Ronald Sherman. He started from California, so my team been working on it in Iran. And then eventually we figures N chromosome royal jelly alone, it can speed the blood circulations and dissolve a crystal sugar in our blood. So, and the nerve system, when they don't have a feeling, and especially in the toes or when they get the infections with diabetes.
Like neuropathy?
So they get the blood circulation instead of infections. They're bleeding in a few, depends on patient's condition, sometimes in 2-3 days, and then over 60% of the patient, they're not insulin dependent anymore. They don't have to take metformins or gulbangline or whatever products they use for diabetics, especially the one are required to be amputated. I have almost 1,000 patients. I prevent amputations, so we have a pictures and document before and after. It's a great product to work on autoimmune diseases. Lots of lotion cream we make for the patient. They have eczema or psoriasis. Topical use, we can rid of the symptoms. Oral consumptions, it can deal with the cause of the symptoms. So it can be used on a cosmetic side of it, on autoimmune disease, antimicrobial, and also health benefit product. Depends on the strategy we want to go through. And then regarding the bee pollens and honey. So bee pollen maybe is a loss of claim about the Manuka honey. Just to be fair, there's not much difference between the Manuka honey and other honey. If you study properly, all the honey pretty much very similar components. I'm not saying it's not a different quality, but it cannot be that significant different on effectiveness of honey and certain pathogens. Try to be a little bit fundamental or non-scientific conversation, try to claim about certain honey has a certain effect or huge effect other honey doesn't have. For example, thyme honey, it may be a little bit more antimicrobial components, but every honey has that. So the result is not that significant. Maybe on topical use, yes, but oral consumption, maybe indirectly, all honey can help. Bee pollen is a great nutrients components, but it can build up immunity. Body can build the immunities, but doesn't have as much as positive effect and quick effect of N chromosome rheology or propolis as antimicrobial components or anti-inflammation. So we go to the bee venom. So it's a lot again to talk about it, and I will my books on about the apitropist are 4 books. First one was published. It's going to be translated to English. They have to be just.
Where do we get those books at?
The books in the Persian language.
Oh, that's
did I
right.
give you the books or no?
I think you did. I don't remember.
If it's not, I go with you. But it's in Persian language.
Yeah.
But is translated to English right now. Somebody native language.
Right.
They have to read that to be sure is proper. And a bee is the introduction. First book's about the introduction of the bee products. Second book's come production and application. Third book's going to be actually will be ready in the winter about the method of application and the case study and clinical trial. Fourth one is coming standard and a packaging and a marketing.
Okay.
So the bee venom. The bee venom, actually, I'm the largest producer of bee venom international. It's going to be Washington State, capital of the bee venom, actually, I would say internationally. Out of my 150 presentation on international conference, 10, 12 of them is about the bee venom. Bee venom has a very strong anti-inflammation, anti-tumor, anti-infection property, but at the same time, lots of people they have a allergy to bee venom. So bee venom cream is expensive, but again, same thing about the bee venom as royal jelly. Lots of fake bee venom in the market, and that's why lots of people they buy, they use, and they don't get result. So it's very good to use as a cosmetic, or also for bed ulcer or other things. And again, it's some controversy, but certainly is a super effective bee venom on as a cosmetic components or antimicrobial or anti-inflammation or antimicrobial. But we have an alternative, and as a basically producer of all these bioproducts, I would recommend, if you're dealing with antimicrobial components, always N chromosome rheology should be infused with the bee venom or propolis, because beside the antimicrobial components, we supplement the skin, then DNA can reproduce the skin faster based on being well nourished and having proper nutrition. So that comes again about the technique and formula how we're doing it, but at the same time, bee venom and propolis can be good natural preservative for the cream to prevent infection. As an example, if the mouse entering to the hives, mouse entering to the hives, when bees sting the mouse, they cannot take out the body because it's so heavy for the bees.
Right.
And you don't see the mouse getting rotten because the propolis and the bee venom and makes them
Preserves it.
dry, preserve, and also even all the moisture, all those whatever nutrients in their bodies and also in their rectums. So usually the loss of microbes in their body can create the infections.
Right.
But when the bees sting them and put the propolis on it, it prevents any infections. You can have the mouse side by side and an empty hive and a hive bees stinging the bodies. So even with no antibiotics, you can create such a preserved
Right.
condition without opening the bodies, without taking all the junk out of the bodies, right? So, by the bee venom propolis, it can do that. So that's why another products I'm going to introduce is lots of products. The queen cells wax, when we're producing queen, because queen larva is resistant to 7 bacteria, which is pathogenic for bees, but queen larva is resistant to those bacteria, some fungus, and 2 fungus and 24 viruses. But all 20 viruses are not pathogenic for the larva, but at least 3-4 of them. But the queen wax is releasing during the growth, and also when bees developing that wax, it has lots of those components of the royal jelly, and also the components of the queen wax is different than normal wax. So I'm the only producer of that products too. We're using for cosmetic. Also, it can be used for cracking skin, protecting the skin from the latex. People who have allergy, but also as a cleansing, taking the dead skin out, and also supplementing the skin or creating anaerobic condition on a skin, so the seal the skins through aerobic macros, but also it can be digestive components infusing with certain oils. It can internally recovering certain ulcers too. This is
So it sounds like these products are really effective for application to get rid of the symptoms, but in taking them internally, it works towards getting rid of the core problem.
Yes, it's a lot of use for all these products.
Right.
And I have, like this year was a case study on 500 patient and over 65 clinical trial on COVID. And we send the article to hospital, to medical journals in US. They don't want to publish it, but yeah. And then basically, it's more and more study has been done over there, and I have over I don't know 50, 60 doctors. They're doing trial or case study. And one of the mistakes I was making, I didn't make a contract with the lawyer. Lots of them, when they see the result, they want to negotiate on a marketing before they publish it. So, and you know, most likely I don't want to. Doctors or scientists become offended. Most science now become a business than science, right? So, and now I have my legal team back home to make a legal contracts. Whatever whatsoever is a result, positive, negative, they have to publish it. So then, after wasting time, no wasting time or money to get to the conclusion.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
smart.
regarding all these products we have, I personally, I like to be mostly involved in a production and informing about the method of application, how this works. This is mostly my skill, and I think it would be good to have scientific organization groups, doctors, or whatever, or marketing groups to help us to get going. And it will be guaranteed products too. So anybody are not satisfied,
Yeah, money back guarantee, absolutely.
yeah. So I think it's a good opportunity to work on this. And the mineral honey, I should mention this one, and is an awesome products too. 2012, just it was a coincidence. I was visiting the doctors in Vancouver, and then become a subject to work with about the hormone therapy. So we know lots of people are almost 78% of the female in North America, they are imbalanced hormone. They're high in testosterone, low in progesterone. Should be other way around.
Right.
So, or non-balanced estrogen, E1, E2, E3. So when we had a test with the people, saliva test or blood test, banded hormone or unbanded hormones, it was confirming the low level of the testosterone or fertility rate on the males in general to compare to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or whatever, past a few decades. So, and then they've been surprised to see the high level of the testosterone I had. So, and then I've got the other people's.
I have the testosterone problem, so I'm interested. Since I was a kid, my pituitary gland produced too much growth hormone, and my body produced too much testosterone. So I've been this big since I was 13.
Yeah,
they gave me hormone supplements to suppress it, and ever since then, my testosterone has been low. So I'll be a guinea pig for that product.
Yeah, it's actually a big issue internationally, right? So about the level of testosterone, people taking Viagra or lots of other things. But anyway, that's the other side. But the thing is that hormone therapy is the very good products to some study has been done through these supplements. And then the mineral honey and mineral dense honey, we talk about the 98% of the females suffering on mineral deficiencies. So as we know, iron, calcium, magnesium, I think 5 to 12% maximum observation through food or pills. So around that, maybe I'm a little bit off on a percentage of the observations, but the scientific report, right? So, and then the honey is the only part that can absorb 100%, but as a result, whatever is in the honey, it gets absorbed. But when you analyze the honey, level of the iron, calcium, magnesium, and also vitamin C and D in the honey is pretty low. So we test the honey from the sea level, from the valleys, forest elevation and high elevation. We have all the numbers, but it's pretty low in the honey. So what we did, we infused this mineral with the vitamin C and D, the iron, calcium, magnesium, and vitamin C and D. Iron with C, calcium with D, magnesium to distribute the mineral.
Increase the absorption?
Yeah, and magnesium to distribute this mineral to bloodstream, right? So we mix them with the water, and then we mix them with the honey, and then we fed the bees. So bees process the honey, and all contained in the honey. So when we give to the consumers, they are low protein, low irons, and it lasts in a month 75% to 100% recovery. So this is a kind of amazing products we have, and basically one of the work I'm going to do right now in Canada and USA, Washington, both sides of the border, to produce these mineral dense honey for.
I'd like to add some terpenes to that and see if it translates into the honey.
And you know, it's good when the consumer to taking this one.
Yeah, it's all naturally emulsified and then blended together in a honey. That's perfect.
Yeah, and the blending is the one, and when bees doing it will be better observations.
Right.
Naturally, the honey will increase the observation for sure, but when it's bees processing it will be amazing.
Yeah.
And then it's a significant effect. And the good thing is when they have a lab test before and after, the lab result confirming. Then as a result, the conversation or presentation is not based on our assumptions or observations. It's a fact. But still, I know the scientific groups, they want to have an argument about not a double-blind study or clinical trial, but they can say also it's a delusional conversation.
Talk to a person who saved their leg or got their sex life back.
Yes. So I think these are the some subject to make a short story, but either one of these have the PowerPoint and information to provide to talk about it.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you very much.
Hopefully my language is understandable, but
and just tell us your name and your brand, so people can find you online and your Instagram.
Yeah, my name is Hossein Yeganarad. So Hossein, family name Yeganehrad. So my company, I have a few company. The main one, Caspian Aviaries.
That's the honey we've tried, and it's absolutely delicious. I had it in my iced coffee this morning.
Yeah, take care. And then Vancouver honey is another one. So, and I have a few other brands with the partners, but the main one, Caspian Aviaries and Vancouver honey, mostly active in Vancouver, Alberta, Manitoba, but in Washington and State, California. A small operation in Mexico and mostly in Iran too. So for sure, future we're going to do some awesome work.
Yeah, and just one more thing. What's your Instagram so people can check you out?
Instagram again, Hossein Yeganarad, same thing. Hossein, just a one word. Hossein Yeganarad. Yeah, so some information there. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Hossein, for your time.
Thank you.